Hey, March Madness is upon us, and I got a for amusement only pool I got to fill out, so I brought some fellas in to help, It is the American pastime, the NCAA tournament, and no investigations here. It's only for amusement that, here on this set we'll make some choices, but we are going to rip through our rundown this evening because priorities. We got to find out who's going to win the NCAA tournament. It's so exciting to have PC in it, and well, we got two terrific guys to help us along with it. Bob Walsh, the head basketball coach at Rhode Island College, former PC assistant, of course, and Bill Koch, who's the sports editor for the South County Independent newspapers and online, and both brilliant basketball minds. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy the show like you. Just kind of watch them discuss this whole thing. So in the meantime, let's get to the run. Oh, by the way, happy St. Joseph's Day. We have some treats that we'll bring out here. This is I cannot believe how inefficient we have been in trying to figure out how to get our infrastructure paid for in this state, but the island is about ready to get hammered here. This is kind of like the script, right? When you talk about gun support and gun control, but there's a little ditty in the coverage from yesterday that just completely floors me, and we'll discuss that for a minute. And it's nice that we've got some jobs coming. We sit here, we moan and groan all the time. We got some jobs coming. So an abbreviated rundown tonight, because again, I want to take some quality time and talk some basketball. But let's dig in a little bit here and discuss this. Heading for Aquidneck disaster. I really think we are. I think the economics of Aquidneck Island are in very serious jeopardy now that we've got some developments on the Sakonnet River Bridge funding at all. Here's the headline from this morning. Panel votes to extend deadline for action on the Sakonnet Bridge toll. I don't have to show you the bridge, do I? Well, why don't I? Because it's easy for you to kind of assimilate here. This is the new stanchion, the multi-million dollars, whatever the heck they call it. That's the electronics that run this whole thing. But what's really important about the story is that we have been on a temporary 10-cent toll, and everybody goes through it, gets a 10-cent toll whacked at them, but you got to go through a bunch of times to even get a bill because they can't afford to send you a bill because there's not enough money in the bill to actually cover the postage. I mean, that's how ridiculous the thing is. It's called a placeholder piece of legislation, which allows the legislature to say, hang on there, because you have to have tolled the bridge early in order to be able to toll the bridge late. That's a federal piece of law that requires you to have a continuing cash flow in order to get your real big toll, even if you're arguing about it. It's a layman's explanation. But the Rhode Island Turnpike Bridge Authority has had a April 1 deadline to begin tolling you at 75 cents, even with the Easy Pass, and like $4 without the Easy Pass. And now they have acquiesced to the legislature that is kind of fumbling through trying to figure this out and push their deadline to start hitting you until May 16th. Now, what does that all mean? What it all means is they've given, well, here's Dave Darlington, the chairman of the authority, talking about the timelines. Then I'll explain what it really means.
As of April 1st, under the current law, there is ability to charge a market rate toll on the bridge. It goes back to the Turnpike Authority. And so, again, while we have the right under the law, April 1st, to do that, we also were paying attention last night and testifying. We have the right to do it April 1st, but we voted this morning to do it May 16th to give the General Assembly another 6 weeks to try to, what they were requesting last night, to try to figure out this grand billion-dollar transportation proposal.
Yeah, the East Bay legislators have come together with a billion-dollar proposal that's got fees and bonding and taxes, and everybody's going to have to pay for everything that is bridge-related. Rather than just focusing, standing on their heads and crying foul, 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 over the idea that this bridge was, this is not a bridge, it's an extension of Route 24. It's an overpass, okay? The problem is that the state put the bridge into the Turnpike Authority, and the Turnpike Authority says, I got to pay for the bridge, but the Turnpike Authority is also challenged with the idea that the Sakonnet River tolls need to help pay for the Pell Bridge, because the Pell Bridge has got more expenses coming, and the tolls on the Pell Bridge are going to go up if they don't toll the Sakonnet Bridge. Long story short, here's how they ought to work it out. If you toll the Sakonnet Bridge, you're going to kill the economy of Aquidneck Island. And no one's paying attention to that in the places that make in the offices that make the decisions about the economics of this. The people of the island understand. And so it's a whole total wash. The money that you're going to take in the tolls, you're going to lose in the general fund anyway from decreased taxes because the economy is going to get hit, but the quality of life is going to get destroyed on Aquidneck Island slowly but surely with these kinds of tolls. How you fund the Pell Bridge is still yet to be determined, but I will tell you this, it's not from a whole new spending plan, it's called priorities. We have X amount of money, an $8.5 billion budget, figure out how to pay for the infrastructure within that budget. They don't seem to understand that concept. And I'll tell you, we're headed for a disaster because there's no leadership on this. The governor's checked out, the House Speaker is checked out, and the Senate President is in a pretzel. Next item. It's disgusting. It really is. The dueling gun rallies yesterday at the State House are kind of like speech. I mean, it's kind of like the scripts in a play. They're just, they're all going through the same motions. But there's something really, here's some of the reaction from the people on both sides of the aisle, from the news.
Freedom means a freedom to choose, and freedom doesn't exist if I tell you you have to have a gun any more than if you tell me I can't have a gun.
It scares me, realistically, to think about my right to defend myself being infringed. So that's why I was here, to really better educate myself.
There are certain guns that should not be in civilian ownership. They're weapons of war. They should be used on the battlefield.
Ever since the Newtown tragedy, I just sort of woke up to the gun violence in our country, and it's become an issue that I'm just very passionate about, and I want to make change.
All right, great. So the arguments on both sides of the aisle, part of the script is what I was trying to say. But there's something in some of the proposed legislation that floored me today. Check this out. Writes the Journal. Gun rights supporters tended to voice support for at least 3 proposals, one of which is allowing teachers and other school staff to bring guns on school premises. Are they crazy? We don't want teachers and principals to have guns in schools. The elementary school attack at Newtown was perhaps prevented by somebody who was armed, trained in that school. And 15 months later, 16 months later, we still don't have anybody reacting to that acute response. We have armed officers in high schools. We have armed officers part-time in junior high schools. None of our alleged precious commodity, our elementary school kids, are protected at all whatsoever, period. And whatever plan we have now is secret, according to state legislative initiatives in the last couple of months. We don't want teachers and administrators weaponized. That's not the solution. And finally here this evening, yay, new company into Quonset. And by the way, this will make it close to 10,000 jobs with this sandwich giant that has come to Quonset. We've got a little bit of audio from yesterday's events, very exciting.
We will be moving some people in, but the majority will be local, and there's already some of our workforce that travel from Rhode Island up to Brockton currently, so I think the majority will be new hires.
I have to give the taxpayers credit. They've been investing in Quonset Point all through the years, different bond issues, and so when we can have a site-ready real estate, that's a great asset to attract companies, and this is the payoff here.
On this one, the governor is absolutely correct. For those of you who are down in the dumps about the economy in Rhode Island, take a drive down to Quonset. It's a hub of activity, and it'll give you a little bit of feeling that there is something going on around here. Good stuff. All right, let's pick some winners when we come back. It's time for the brackets. All of America's doing it. Why shouldn't we? Stay with us. All right, listen, a lot of you know I'm a basketball junkie, but I don't have near the aficionado status of my guests. First, here are some of the scenes at PC when they were, there was no surprise. Here, let's get some Zeppelas out here too, by the way. There was no surprise. I'd rather have a couple of beers, but you guys can have some dessert. About the selection show. That's all the selection show Sunday scene setting at Alumni Hall. And here are my guests. I go this way. Bob Walsh, head coach of Rhode Island College. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
And Bill Koch from the South County Independent newspapers, and the website is, we've got that linked up, right, don't we?
IndependentRI.com.
Basketball minds. I've met Bill on the beat at URI. We're on the public address announcer. We've kind of hit it off. He's a smart, really a brilliant basketball mind and a really great writer. And of course, Bob Walsh and I have been friends for a long time. He's 8 straight NCAA Division III appearances for his team and 6 out of 8 Little East titles. And my color commentator on our high school broadcast. We'll talk a little bit of high school basketball and the like. Bang. So guys, have chow down. It's St. Joseph's Day. All right, I'm on vacation now for the rest of the show. How exciting is it to have PC in? Huge.
Well, it's terrific. Saturday night, you could feel it through the television with the energy in the Garden for them to win a Big East championship. I mean, it's literally a night that will be remembered in Providence forever.
You know what's interesting? Bob pointed this out to me. If they don't win the championship, they might not have got in based on the seed. You think that's true?
I tend to agree. I think they were actually done a disservice by Seton Hall, who beat Villanova, hurt their strength of schedule playing Seton Hall instead of Villanova.
But would they have beaten Villanova? You never know. That's
you
the
never
great.
know.
You can stay up all night eating Zeppelas or drinking beers trying to figure that out, right?
Why not? Why couldn't they? They took down Creighton.
Oh, no doubt.
Neutral floor.
And they took Villanova right to the end at home.
Correct.
But thrilling. I was talking to Kevin McNamara at the Journal the other day for the radio show, weekdays noon to 3 on WPRO. And we were talking about the Big East Championship and how important it is to the community, to the school, how big Ed Cooley has gotten. Truth is, the Big East is different this year. And now it's kind of almost a suit tailor-made for them, isn't it?
Well, it's more back to what the Big East was when Coach Gavitt envisioned it. You know, there's no football driving the bus, and it's some smaller schools that kind of have the same mentality, and it's a perfect fit for PC. And obviously their success this year shows that they can be a factor in that league consistently for years to come with Coach Cooley in charge.
You feel like it's a lesser thing that they won with a league that is somewhat diminished in its overall power rating?
Well, it's very different. You're not playing against football schools who have unlimited funds, can build multi-million-dollar practice facilities, can recruit anywhere they want via charter flights. But I don't think winning any championship is ever diminished by anything.
Right, you got to win. You got to put the ball in the hole.
Something they haven't done in 20 years, regardless of what the field was. 20 years ago, Louisville wasn't in the Big East, so you could say that, that championship, this championship, they have that in common at the very least. But I don't think going through 3 games, winning on a neutral floor, I don't think you can diminish that at all.
Being centered in South County, Bill, you cover URI on an intimate basis. The Atlantic 10 Conference, which is the home of URI, put 6 teams in versus 4 for the Big East. I mean, that's something at least for URI to be shouting about, don't you think?
We've spoken about this a little bit before. The Atlantic 10 has always scheduled tough games out of conference because they've had to. The bigger schools won't go to them. They won't play on the road. They won't be able to host schools from the Big East, from the ACC. And because of that, your strength of schedule goes up. Because of that, your RPI ranking goes up. And it becomes a math equation for the selection committee. And the Atlantic 10 was on the right side of that equation this time.
So when Coach Hurley's going, I didn't realize how tough it was going to be. I didn't realize how tough. He maybe not have realized how tough it was going to be.
He didn't, and I don't think anybody expected 6 teams out of the Atlantic 10 in the tournament this year. But it's good news for URI. It really is. Now maybe their league record wasn't quite what they wanted it to be this year, but the strength of the conference is really, really important. The fact that your 6th place team could get in, and there were 6 teams in the Atlantic 10 that had better RPIs than the 3rd, 4th, 5th place team in the Big East. That's pretty impressive.
If they hit some free throws, for crying out loud, it might have been a whole better story, right?
I think Coach Hurley's been asked enough about the free throws at this point.
Well, right. It's true.
It is true.
As a head game. All right, when we come back, we can get the brackets in. All right, we'll talk about how deep PC could go, if at all. Of course, my alma mater is playing at noontime tomorrow. Versus Ohio State. I might be sick tomorrow. Stay with us. This exercise is totally selfish because I got to fill out my brackets tonight, and I needed some input here. I won once, for amusement only. Bill Koch and Bob Walsh are here. Laura, let's just get them going because we're limited on time. We've got 7 or 8 minutes here to knock it all up. The Eastern brackets, is this where PC is? Yeah. So they're playing in Buffalo. No, they're playing in San Antonio. Why? The East bracket is in San Antonio. None of this makes sense, correct?
When they went to the pod system a few years ago, it's never made sense.
Right.
Exactly why, when you said East, I had to look down and figure out which teams we were actually going to talk about, because I have no idea what region they're in.
Pop it up. Let's see. Can PC beat North Carolina? The name is trademarked, but the team is not as good as the trademark, right?
I think they can, but it's a tough matchup. Carolina's got a lot of depth inside. They hammer the glass. I think that's an issue for PC. They don't shoot it well. So that's something where PC zone, the active zone they played against Creighton, could be effective, but Carolina's going to know it's coming.
Key to this game is James Michael McAdoo. He's got lottery talent and doesn't bring it every night. If he brings it against the Friars, they'll be in trouble.
You know, Kevin McNamara said to me on the radio the other day, he said, you know, there are 8 players on North Carolina's roster that wouldn't even take a call from Ed Cooley in terms of recruiting. But it doesn't mean they've played at that level.
It means
right?
nothing.
They haven't, but they've also beaten, you know, a couple of the teams that everybody has picked to win this tournament. Louisville they beat Michigan State, they beat Duke, they beat Kentucky. I mean, the top 4 teams in the AP poll, so they have that type of ability.
Well,
And
what are your,
Belmont at home.
let me get you on, what are your brackets going to say about the PC game?
You're going to put me on the spot here. I think it's going to be a hard game for PC to win.
I'm taking North Carolina.
You are?
Yes.
Oh, very hard to hear that, but, you know, truth hurts. All right, bring that bracket back up, will you? Laura, thank you. In that bracket, who do you feel is going to go? Can Harvard beat Cincinnati?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has trouble scoring.
Okay. So that would be a kind of a cool 12-5 upset pick.
Harvard won a game last year. Cincinnati's about as tough and versatile a team, though. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. I know we talked about this. I like Iowa State in that bracket, playing really well, well coached, a lot of different guys that can score. A guy, a New England kid, Georges Niang, who's terrific with the basketball inside and out. So I think you could see Iowa State end up in Dallas.
What about Michigan State?
Michigan State has emerged as a trendy pick, which usually makes me a little scared. The gamblers usually say you run away from the money. But Michigan State would have been my preseason #1. They have outstanding talent. I feel like they play Iowa State in that regional final. I feel like they scrape through and get to the Final Four.
All right. Next bracket. This is let's go to the next one. See if we can hustle through, Laura. Thank you. Into the Midwest. You tell me, fellas.
The region of doom. The lesson here is don't go 34-0 because we're going to stack the bracket against you to
Wichita
see
State, right?
If you can get to the finals. I think Louisville is the toughest team there. They're playing great. I mean, to win a game by 60 in the conference tournament is unbelievable. Obviously, the coach and the team have the pedigree. They'll be really tough to beat, but there's a lot of teams that can make noise in this bracket.
I'm going to keep the faith and go with Wichita State coming out of here. I'm waiting for one of those Russ Smith 6 for 23 disasters, and they don't have Peyton Siva to steady them.
And don't discount Michigan. John Beilein, one of the best coaches out there. They've been there before. Outrighted the Big Ten this year when he lost one of his best players. They could be right there.
Michigan, fantastic, but no Mitch McGarry, no long tournament run this year for Michigan.
UMass, any noise? I don't hear you saying
I
a
think
word
they're
about
going
it.
home on the first day.
Okay. All right. The next slide. We're halfway through the bracket. See, it's easier than CBS. Florida. Yes.
The best team overall by far. One thing I like is Billy Donovan has won this tournament before with the #1 overall seed. He knows how to handle it. It's tough to see them getting beat. You could end up mentor and coach in the finals if Louisville and Florida play as well as they've been playing.
Florida, my pick to win. 4 senior starters, senior backcourt, 2 monsters up front.
Pick to win overall or just the whole
overall,
thing?
the region and the whole thing.
Well, there goes the old big question. What do you think overall? What about my Flyers? Can they make any move there? They can beat Ohio State. They can beat Ohio State.
Big grudge
I can't tell you
match.
how big that game is in
The
Ohio.
game matters more to them, but it's the NCAA tournament. It's not like Ohio State's not going to be ready. The winner of that game faces probably a Syracuse team that is not playing well, so it is a game where those teams are thinking about getting to the second weekend.
And the final bracket, right? Did we get through? Is this the final bracket? Yeah, already. Who you like, at least for point scoring in a bracketology contest?
You know, I'm going to give you something nuts here. If you have something that awards points for a lower level seed, a 16 has never beaten a 1. But Arizona is going to have trouble with Weber State. Weber State has a great player in Davion Berry. They can rebound the basketball. They're well coached. Weber State could win that game.
You know, for those who play the bracket games, if you win a 16-1, you can win your pool for amusement only.
I'm on a similar line of thought with Bob. I have Arizona going out in the 3rd round to Oklahoma State. They just struggle to score, and since Nick Johnson got hurt, they haven't been the same team. Oklahoma State was a preseason top 10 team. They have Final Four talent. Look for them to make a run here.
All right, so your picks are Florida. They win the national championship.
I've got Florida.
Tell me, is this a upset-filled first and second, third roundish type of tournament this year, or predictable?
I think the biggest difference between this year and years past is a lot of the 1 seeds in the conference tournaments went out and didn't receive the automatic bids. So you may not see some of the wildness in the first couple rounds that you've seen before because the teams just aren't as good.
All right.
It depends on what you consider an upset, too. A 12 beating a 5, you know, if you put those two teams without numbers next to them on a neutral court in December, I don't think it would look like an upset.
Quick thought on this weekend. Let me tell you something. You want to follow high school sports? The Bill is all over it all season long, but we've got a little big roll and of some of the action from this past weekend at the quarterfinals at Brown. And if we can put that bracket up real quick, Laura, there we go. Excellent work. Central and Coventry, LaSalle and Bishop Hendricken. Central a surprise, and Coventry better than anybody thought, or I thought.
Coventry, when they're making shots from the perimeter, is as dangerous as any team in this field. I think they take Central out. That other game, you can guarantee that Jamal Gomes is reminding his Hendricken team of how LaSalle drilled them in the Division I tournament. They're getting that pounded into their heads on a daily basis. I still think LaSalle is a team to beat in this tournament, but I think they're really going to have to work for it these last two games.
Your call?
Coventry, LaSalle in the finals. I think Coventry is going to be tough to beat.
Wow. That'd be an upset.
Certainly.
All right. That was fun. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks.
You're advised. Your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. By the way, I should point out, coming up on Friday on AM 790 WPRV, those high school games, 6 and 8, pregame 5:40 will be on the air. Yours truly and Coach Bob Walsh with the broadcast. And I know we got a PC conflict, so my suggestion is that if you're watching at home, take the radio with you and you can multitask. Very exciting time, isn't it? Let's take a look at how you get in touch with the broadcast. 228-1886 is the voicemail. Simply leave us a thought. State of mind at myritv.com is the email, and you can tweet or Facebook post at us at Dan Yorke Show. Don't forget the E. Here's a voicemail in reaction to a show from a couple of nights ago.
I'd like to applaud you for having Stephen Kitchen on. He's a fantastic communicator, businessman, and teacher, and I agree with him completely about what he says about New England Tech. They're tuning in to what the kids need and what is needed.
That's from our show with Steve Kitchen from New England Tech, talking about job training. The Democrats think they're creating job training programs. We already have one. I'll see you tomorrow night, 7:30.